There's one thing nobody talks about when betraying a Virgo, not the anger, not the cold detachment, not the silence that seems too definitive to be real. What nobody talks about is that Virgo already knew, not in the vague sense of, "Oh, I suspected." They truly knew. They had the data. They had the signs filed away, categorized, cross-referenced with old memories and recent behaviors. Virgo functioned like an analysis system that never stops running, and at some point, that system pointed to the answer. And Virgo looked at the answer and decided not to believe it. This is what makes Virgo's betrayal different from any other. It's not a surprise, it's a confirmation of something she spent months trying to prove wrong. There's something that people who betrayed Virgos discover sooner or later, not in a conversation, not in a confrontation, not in a moment of drama. They discover it on their own, on an ordinary day, when they need someone to remind them of the detail they mention in passing. When they need an honest opinion and realize that everyone around them only offers comfort. When they are going through a difficult time and feel with that uncomfortable clarity that the presence that made those moments less significant simply no longer exists in their world. And they remember. They remember Virgo, but they don't remember Virgo with that vague longing of someone who has lost something good. They remember it with the specific weight of someone who knows they wasted something rare, something that can't be found just anywhere. Something that was built with an attention and loyalty that cost the giver dearly. What most people don't understand about betraying a Virgo is that justice doesn't come as punishment. It comes as absence, an absence that grows silently until it occupies a space that no one else can fill. And Virgo has already closed the file. It has already completed the internal process. It has emerged on the other side, more precise, more calibrated, and somehow more whole than it was before. The question remains, what exactly did Virgo carry within her that made this loss so difficult to calculate? And why is betraying Virgo, in practice, betraying the rarest kind of presence that exists? That's exactly what we're going to see now. There's a common idea about Virgos that they're cold, that when they close a door, they close it without looking back. That logic always wins over feeling for them. This image has a grain of truth, but it hides the most important part. Virgos don't close the door because they don't feel. They close it because they felt everything. They felt with that specific intensity of someone who observes every detail, who remembered every word you said, who built such a precise image of you that when that image began to clash with reality, the dissonance was unbearable. But Virgo has a defense mechanism that few realize. She folds the last piece of the puzzle. When the data starts pointing to something she doesn't want to see, she files it away. She puts it in a mental folder titled, "I'll analyze this later." And later never comes, because she intuitively knows that when she opens that folder, there's no going back. So Virgo stays, not out of naivete, out of a deliberate choice not to know yet. And this is where things get unsettling for anyone who has ever loved or been loved by a Virgo, because this choice not to know is not weakness. It is the greatest act of faith that Virgo is capable of. Virgo, who distrusts everything, who checks twice before trusting once, who demands consistency and coherence as a basic condition of presence. This same Virgo chose to believe in you, even with the evidence mounting on the outside. This is love in Virgo, not flowers, not grand gestures. It's the decision not to open the folder. And when someone chooses to betray that, not just betray the person, but betray that specific act of faith that Virgo rarely repeats, the universe doesn't ignore it. Not because there's a score being kept somewhere, but because Virgo is a system, and systems have built-in consequences. Virgo's loyalty isn't decorative, it's structural. When Virgo decides you're part of their life, they build around you. They adjust routines, make exceptions, create space where there wasn't any before. They don't do this with everyone. In fact, they do it with very few people. Most people in Virgo's life receive competence, attention, and care. But those who enter the inner circle receive something different. They receive that level of presence that seems almost surgical in its precision. Virgo, who remembers what you said 3 weeks ago, who notices when your tone has changed before you do, who shows up with exactly what you needed before you asked. This structure that Virgo builds comes at a high cost to her, because to build it this way, she needs to lower the defenses she has spent her whole life perfecting. And when that is betrayed, what breaks is not just the relationship, it's the belief system that allowed her to build it. It's like demolishing not just the house, but the entire foundation. And now Virgo is here, with the data she didn't want to see finally confirmed, with the folder open, with the complete picture in front of her. What does she do? It was while searching for answers to this question that I found this digital book. The Divine Path that guides your zodiac sign to a life of purpose came to me at a time similar to what you're experiencing now. A time when loyalty has been misplaced, when the analysis that Virgo has always done so well has suddenly turned against itself. The book doesn't treat Virgo as a sign to be explained. It treats Virgo as an architecture of the soul that needs to be understood from within. Its relationship with trust, with the care it offers and rarely receives in return, with the inner work that comes after each rupture. It's a tool for real discernment, not generic self-help, for discernment, the ability that Virgo most needs to hone after going through this. You are now in one of the most difficult moments, Virgo's face. The instant the folder was opened, and you can no longer pretend you didn't see it. The discomfort you feel now, this mixture of anger with something that seems almost like shame for having stayed, is real. And it is precisely because you are in this state that acting now makes more sense than waiting for clarity to arrive on its own. The link is in the first pinned comment, but be aware, this content may be taken down. Click now and download your copy. Tell me in the comments, have you ever had the feeling of knowing something about someone and consciously choosing not to believe it? What was it like when you finally opened that folder? Virgo's silence after betrayal is not the silence of someone who has nothing to say. It is the silence of someone who has so much to process that speaking would be imprecise. And Virgo does not tolerate imprecision, not even in its own suffering. She enters a state that from the outside seems cold, indifferent, like she's moved on too quickly. But inside, something is happening that looks much more like a forensic laboratory than a broken heart. Every memory is being re-evaluated, every conversation, every moment of doubt she chose to ignore, every sign she folded and filed away. Everything is being reopened, re-examined in the light of what she now knows. And this reassessment has a specific cost that no one sees. Because Virgo isn't just processing the betrayal of the other person, she's processing her own betrayal, the betrayal against her judgment, against the analysis she made, which pointed to the risk, which she chose to ignore. What hurts Virgo most isn't that the other person failed her, it's that she failed herself. How could I have messed up so badly? That question will come up, and when it appears in Virgo, it doesn't just hang in the air as rhetoric. It becomes an internal investigation project with an indefinite deadline. Virgo will look for where they went wrong. They will identify the exact point where the analysis failed. They will compile a complete report of their own perceptual error, and they will carry this report like a burden as proof that they cannot trust their own intuition, when in fact their intuition was right from the start. The problem was never the analysis, it was the choice not to act on it. But Virgo hasn't reached that point yet. She's in the middle of the process, and this is where karma begins to move. not on Virgo's side, on the side of the one who betrayed. Because while Virgo is in the forensic laboratory of its own mistakes, the person who betrayed begins to live without that structure of care that Virgo built. On the first day, it doesn't seem like a big deal. In the first month, maybe not yet. But little by little, in ways that are difficult to name but easy to feel, Virgo's absence begins to appear. Not dramatically, with precision. That memory she had of important dates, that presence that anticipated what you needed, that honesty that hurt but was the only one that told the truth when everyone else preferred to comfort. That feeling of being truly seen, not in the superficial way of someone paying attention, but in the specific way of someone who analyzed you so deeply that you sometimes felt more known by her than by yourself. It's gone. And the awareness of that loss doesn't come all at once. It comes in trickles. One day you need someone who will remember the detail you mentioned in passing, and you realize that person is no longer there. One day you need an honest opinion, not validation, and you realize you've lost the only person who would give you that for free. One day you're going through a difficult time and you realize that the presence that made those moments less significant simply doesn't exist anymore. The justice of the universe isn't a thunderclap. It's a garden that dries up because the irrigation system was removed. You only realize the magnitude of the loss when the garden has nothing left to offer. If any part of this truth about Virgo's silent processing resonated with you, if you recognized in this internal analysis something that lives within yourself, the book, The Divine Path That Guides Your Zodiac Sign to a Life of Purpose, was made for this specific moment, not for after the pain passes. Now, while the process is active, it works directly with how Virgo processes the rupture, how it rebuilds confidence in its own perception, how it transforms the weight of the internal report into real accuracy. The link is in the first pinned comment. The last copies are running out. Click now and begin your journey towards the clarity and genius you deserve. There's a specific wound that betrayal opens in Virgo, and it has nothing to do with the other person. It's the fissure in the trust she had in herself. Virgo, who analyzes everything, who is suspicious by default, who demands consistency before opening any space. This Virgo came to the conclusion that you were safe, that you were real, that you deserved access to the inner circle. And I was wrong. This conclusion doesn't break Virgo as a person, but it breaks something structural in the way they see themselves. Because for Virgo, perception isn't just an emotional tool, it's the central tool of their identity. It's what they use to navigate the world, to make decisions, to create order in an environment they intuitively feel is chaotic. When perception fails at such a central point, the entire structure trembles. Virgo won't talk about it. It will continue functioning. It will continue delivering results, fulfilling commitments, being present for those who depend on it. But inside, it's calibrated, reviewing every relationship with a magnifying glass, questioning every opening it gave, every exception it made, every time it chose to trust. What hurts those watching this, if anyone is watching at all, because Virgo rarely shows this, is that this recalibration isn't just about you. You were the last straw, but the impact goes beyond you. Virgo is learning once again that the outside world cannot tolerate the level of care she puts into things, and this lesson will cost her a piece of the openness she had worked so hard to build. This is the real wound, not the loss of you, the loss of a version of yourself that still believed it was possible. If this has resonated deeply with you, if you recognize this fissure, this silent cost that betrayal exacts from Virgos far beyond the relationship that ended, there is a way to work through it that isn't therapy, vague self-help, or a list of positive affirmations. The book, The Divine Path That Guides Your Zodiac Sign to a Life of Purpose, specifically addresses Virgo's relationship with trust. in their own perception, their own choices, their own worth. It works on reconnecting with true discernment, not with the hypervigilance that betrayal instills. It's different, and it makes a difference. The link is in the first pinned comment. The last copies are running out. Click now and begin your journey toward the clarity and genius you deserve. What happens after Virgo processes all of this? She doesn't explode. She doesn't confront with drama. She doesn't create scenes or post passive-aggressive messages. Virgo does something much more definitive and much less visible. She closes the file. Not the file of the relationship, the file of the version of herself that was available to that person. And this version is not coming back. Ever. Not out of pride, out of calibration. Virgo understood at a high cost that that specific opening was a misjudgment. And Virgo doesn't repeat catalogued misjudgments. She learns, she adjusts, she moves forward with a precision that didn't exist before. The person who betrayed her may try to return. You can present arguments, you can try to reopen the dialogue, and Virgo will listen, because Virgo is fair and considers new information. But what the person will find is not the same Virgo. It's a more closed, more precise, and somehow more powerful version, because she went through the fire and came out with fewer illusions and more clarity. And this is where karma is completed. Not with punishment from the outside, with Virgo's evolution as a natural consequence of the betrayal committed against her. Those who remained outside are now trying to connect with a virgin who no longer exists. The door that once existed has been literally rebuilt. The space that was there has been filled with discernment, where before there was blind faith. Virgo doesn't need to see others suffer. She doesn't need confirmation. The moment justice is served for Virgo is the moment she stops carrying the weight of wasted loyalty. When she settles accounts, not with anger but with the serene coldness of an accountant closing the year's balance sheet. The numbers don't add up. The cycle has ended. There is something profoundly beautiful and profoundly tragic in the way Virgo processes betrayal. Beautiful because she emerges more whole. Tragic because the cost of getting to that place was too high. For those who are in this process now, whether you're a Virgo recalibrating or trying to understand what happened, there's an inner work that goes far beyond getting over it. It's the work of not letting betrayal rewrite who you are, of not allowing the rupture of a relationship to become a rupture in your own capacity to trust, of learning the difference between the hypervigilance that pain instills and the real discernment that Virgo has always had, but which sometimes needed a crisis to truly access. The book, The Divine Path That Guides Your Zodiac Sign to a Life of Purpose, follows this process from within, not as a recovery manual, but as a compass for the recalibration that Virgo undergoes after the weight has been placed on the ground. It speaks of the liberation that comes when Virgo stops punishing itself for the error of perception and begins to use what it has learned as an instrument of real precision. The link is in the first pinned comment. The last copies are running out. Click now and begin your journey towards the clarity and genius you deserve. And so Virgo continues, it's not the same, never the same. Whoever expected that time would erase everything and that Virgo would return to what it was before is waiting for someone who will not appear. Not because Virgo holds grudges, it doesn't, but because Virgo learns with precision. Each important rupture deposits something in it that is not a scar, it's calibration. The universe's justice toward the one who betrayed Virgo isn't dramatic. It's this: the person will continue living. You'll find other relationships, other connections, but you'll carry, somewhere you may never be able to quite name, the memory of a level of presence you haven't found again. And you'll try to reproduce that, and you'll realize you can't, not because there isn't another good person in the world, but because what Virgo offered wasn't a generic skill. It was the result of a deliberate and costly choice that Virgo makes very rarely. The world's most silent loss is realizing you've wasted something that can't be found in any store. Virgo doesn't need revenge. She needs clarity, and clarity with time, with inner work, with the slow and precise process of recalibration that she began the moment she closed the file, will arrive. And when she arrives, she doesn't announce herself. She's simply there, in the quality of attention that Virgo regains for herself. In the discernment she recognizes as the greatest gift that came from something that almost destroyed her. In the lightness of no longer carrying the weight of a loyalty that was placed in the wrong place. This is the karma of betraying a Virgo. Not the punishment that falls upon the one who betrayed, but the silent and permanent transformation of the one who was betrayed. Virgo doesn't seek revenge. Virgo evolves, and in this evolution, she distances herself so much from the version that was vulnerable to that betrayal that those left behind simply no longer have access to the territory where she now lives. The justice of the universe always arrives, not with thunder, with distance.